Hello everybody, hope you guys are all enjoying your day. Today we're going to be looking at your winter storm Kade forecast, and this is going to include my personal forecast at the end of the video, and we're going to be talking about all the snow and rainfall for parts of the eastern United States, and it is going to be quite plentiful for many regions. So we are going to start off with this National Weather Service, and also make sure you are staying tuned until the end, where I will show you my personal hand-drawn forecast, and it has updated since yesterday. So before we do get into it, I do want to say my voice is still a little stuffy. I am still a little stuffy and a little bit sick here, so my voice isn't the best here. So I really do apologize, but I am gonna try and make it through this video, and I'm gonna just try and update you guys with the latest information. I'm trying my best here, so hopefully you guys can cope with it, and hopefully we can make it through this video. So we're gonna start off here with the National Weather Service. We have winter weather advisories stretching from Kentucky through Ohio, Pennsylvania, through upstate New York, and through into Massachusetts, Vermont, through New Hampshire and Maine. And then we even have some winter storm warnings, which I believe will be expanded a little bit further to the southwest by tonight, through upstate New York, northern Vermont, northern New Hampshire, and northern Maine. And I think they could also extend a little bit out into eastern Maine a little bit, where you could pick up a 5-6 inch accumulation. So just looking at the models and also looking at the National Weather Service forecast, they themselves are putting 5 to 6 inches there. So I'm pretty sure, I think they should add some more winter storm warnings. It's a pretty big storm system, and if you are in a winter storm warning, those are really the areas I'm expecting at least 6 inches of snowfall. So if you're in a winter storm warning, definitely take caution. Now we also have wind advisories stretching from parts of the northeast coast down through into parts of Florida. We also have a tornado watch in effect for parts of the southeast, and then we also have some flood warnings, flash flood warnings, flood watches. That's all this green and dark red over parts of the southeast. And then we also have some unrelated events. This isn't from Winter Storm Kade, but we do have some winter storm warnings and winter weather advisories and avalanche warnings in effect for the northern part of the Rockies, as well as some flood watches for the Pacific Northwest. Now, let's start off with your surface analysis map, and this is going to show you where your low and high pressures are. Now, after this system departs, you're going to see some cold air, some colder air than you've seen in quite a while over many of these areas come in on the backside of this, as you get a lot of cold air to be unleashed for about 2 days. So if you are a cold and snow lover, definitely something that you'll enjoy, but it won't really last. It'll be for just a couple days, 2 days, and then warm air looks to overtake. Now we have your main low pressure system is right around in here, over parts of the Virginia, North Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky area, the mountainous parts of those states. Now we have this large draping cold front here. We have 60s ahead of it, and then we have 40s on the other side of this cold front. So definitely a stark temperature gradient right there. Now, we're going to start off with your storm reports here from the SPC. So these are your filtered storm reports. 15 confirmed tornadoes yesterday, and a lot of hail reports over Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, and then the bulk of these tornadoes happened over Mississippi and kind of stretching there into Alabama. And then we have a lot of just widespread wind reports over the southeast. So that was yesterday. Here's so far what's happened today. We have we have 6 confirmed tornadoes, and we have 41 wind reports, as well as 2 hail reports that are confirmed, and many more are probably gonna get confirmed. So very interesting what's happening with the severe weather so far, and we've had some pretty large hail sizes from the reports that we've seen over parts of the southeast the past couple of days. Here's the Storm Prediction Center's risk of severe weather, and you see we have a slight risk in this yellow, and that's really for many of these areas through the southeast, through the Carolinas, Georgia, and into Florida. And then we also have over in this enhanced risk, this for parts of the Panhandle, Florida, and through into Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and almost stretching there into Virginia. So this is stretching very far north for February standards. Now let's get into your tornado risk, and you see we have a 5% chance there, which is pretty high for February. It's pretty high for any time of the year, but you definitely have an increased risk of tornadoes. And again, we've already seen 6, and it looks to uptick as we get later and later. Wind we have the highest risk for wind. Yesterday, I believe it was only a 15% chance of wind damage, and I said they should increase that, and definitely they did increase that. We have a 45% chance right here in Georgia, South Carolina, and Florida, and then for hail, less than 5%. So not really hail being the big threat. Yesterday, hail was a pretty big threat over the South Central, but now it looks like that kind of died down. That threat kind of died down. So let's get more into the wintry side of this system. You see, here's your system currently from the European model, and you see a lot of rain over parts of the southeast. Now, this is a couple hours behind, so we'll bring it forward just a little bit. And this is practically what's happening right now. We have some snow starting to break out through the Ohio Valley and into parts of the northeast, and rain on the southern side, which is going to be pretty heavy, and you could reach 3 to 5 inches in some of these areas. Now, that will also be in my forecast at the end of the video. So, as we continue this would be for Friday in the morning. You're starting to see, I've seen a couple comments here wondering about this snowfall in yesterday's video. Now, I think this is definitely going to occur, but how much of this sticks is going to be the really big question here, and you'll see that in my forecast. But I definitely do think it's possible you see a couple flurries, but I'm leaving that possibility for really if you live north of this area, really. Now, anywhere south of it, it's definitely possible. If you live closer to that line, that you could see some flurries, but it doesn't look like it's gonna stick. And even this really is gonna stick for maybe a little bit, but really not gonna stick for too long. It's only happening because you have that cold air off on the northwest side coming in as this low pressure kind of churns counterclockwise, and that is bringing in all that all that cold air on the northwest side of that, and that is allowing the snowfall to fall pretty far to the south. So really it's gonna I think it's gonna coat your grass in some of these areas, but not gonna cause too many problems. Now, this would be for Friday morning, and you see a lot of ice over the northeast, and the ice has definitely increased from yesterday, but also the snow has increased by quite a bit from yesterday as well. Now, here's getting into your Friday afternoon. Heavier snow starting to break out, and snow is starting to overtake, but still Maine, New Hampshire, under a pretty good batch of freezing rain there, getting into your Friday afternoon and evening. Snow starting to break out as you get into the colder evening time period, and you see that over the parts of New England, starting to get in on some snowfall, and that is going to start departing as you get into Saturday morning. So here's your freezing rain from this event, zooming in here on the northeast, and you see we have some 3/10 of an inch, half an inch reports here over parts of Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, upstate New York. So definitely going to be some treacherous conditions. Now, I'm not going to call for that. I'm going to go with maybe a quarter of an inch, 3/10 of an inch, definitely possible. And I wouldn't even rule out 35 hundredths of an inch. So definitely a lot of freezing rain, and we'll definitely have to see how this one plays out. So here's your snowfall through the next 48 hours through Saturday morning, and you see quite a lot of snowfall. Those blues, as you can see on the key on the right, that's about 27 to about 3 feet of snowfall. So definitely, I think they're a little bit overdone here, but definitely there are a possibility here that you see a lot of snowfall over northern Maine through into northern almost New Hampshire and Vermont, and into parts of upstate New York, where you also get a little bit of lake enhancement with this system. And a lot of people don't know that you can actually get lake effect bands to form while you still have another system, while you still have a system moving through. So you can actually get lake enhanced snowfall, where added on to the snowfall that you're already seeing, you're seeing even more snowfall. So definitely you could see that over parts of upstate New York, and it's definitely a possibility, and it's something that's definitely going to skew these snowfall totals as you live closer to the Great Lakes. Now, You see, we have a good 6 to 12 inches moving all the way through down into West Virginia. These amounts in West Virginia have really went up, but I'm going to still stick with my general coding to 1 to 3 inches in some areas. But definitely know if you live in the higher elevations, you could get 3 to 6 inches. And then moving up, you see upstate New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, again, seeing a lot of snowfall, over a foot widespread in many of these areas. So let's get into my personal forecast. And you see your low pressure system again centered over parts of the southern Appalachian Mountains, and it's really going to start moving up the up the Appalachians and through into parts of the East Coast and moving into parts of New England, where it is going to really be able to go offshore, and actually it's going to re-intensify over parts of eastern Canada. Now this is going to be a storm going from today all the way until the 8th, so make sure you are taking that into account. And all my numbers or all my snowfall totals are moving through about lunchtime on the 8th. So under an inch here, really something that's just going to coat your grass or your driveways here. If you live anywhere in this light blue shade, under an inch of snow expected, so nothing that's going to be too treacherous on these roadways. 1 to 3 inches here as you get through West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Ohio, through upstate New York and into parts of Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. We have 3 to 6 inches here moving through Pennsylvania, northern Pennsylvania, through northern Ohio, much of upstate New York, the northern halves of Vermont, New Hampshire, and most of Maine, except for the southernmost part. And then we have 6 to 12 inches of snowfall here. If you do live in the western part of upstate New York and the northern part, as well as a little bit there of northern Pennsylvania and northern New Hampshire and Vermont, as well as northern or actually most of Maine, except for the southern portions there. And then even a 12 to 18 inches of snowfall here over parts of the Great Lakes part of New York, and then into parts of the northernmost part of Vermont and New Hampshire, as well as the northern half of Maine. And then we even have an 18 to 24-inch area over the northern part of Maine, and a 24 to 36-inch area, and I'm leaning more on the southern side of that amount, so about 25, 26 inches probably. But definitely, it's going to be a lot of snowfall, and I think it's the first time I've ever pulled out my 24 to 36 inch amount. So definitely a very impactful system here. Now let's get into a rainfall. We have under an inch of rainfall here expected. If you do live in parts, really anywhere that's south of the snow, you're going to be expecting some rainfall under an inch here. Now 1 to 2 inches expected if you live in the Panhandle of Florida, through Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, through the Carolinas, and up through Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey. Now we have a 2 to 3 inch area over a pretty good widespread area over parts of Georgia, the Carolinas, through much of Virginia and into much of Maryland and Delaware, as well as the southernmost part of New Jersey. And then we have 3 to 5 inches here even over parts of Virginia, North Carolina, and westernmost South Carolina. So definitely a lot of rainfall still to come, and this is really going to depend on whether you get a good squall line to develop, or you can get a lot of rainfall, and whether you can get multiple squall lines to develop right behind each other, so you're always pretty much, as you get out of one squall line or one really heavy band of rain, you're right back into one of those. So that's when you really see those big flooding issues. So that's going to really depend, and I think you could see isolated amounts over 4 or 5 inches. So definitely very, very a very strong system that we're dealing with if you do live in the eastern United States. Anyways, guys, that is going to wrap up the video. Please consider liking the video, subscribing, and turn on notifications, as I do make these videos daily. Now, I do apologize for my voice here. I am still sick, and I'm feeling better, but my voice is worse. So hopefully my voice does get better by tomorrow, but we'll have to see. Anyways, guys, that was Eli with Guy, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.